What's up, guys? Today, well, we're done with all the crafting professions, so today we're looking at cooking, the secondary profession that everyone's got. You're still crafting items, it can still be used for gold making, so we're going to take a look at it for Wrath Classic. So first things first, food typically come in two types. You have the normal food, which essentially you sit down, you eat for 10 seconds, you regain health, and you get a buff, like this one with the spiced worm burger, giving you 40 critical strike rating and 40 stamina for an hour. And then you have the feast. I think these were added in Wrath, actually. This is the first time you ever see them. Which puts down a big feast that you click and then you eat at it. And after 10 seconds, you get a buff. This time, if you click the feast, you get 80 attack power, 46 spell power, and 40 stamina for 1 hour. So those are the types. This one can be used by our entire raid. Not sure exactly how many servings they have in Wrath. Typically, you pop one down, your entire raid can eat from it. So this is usually very, very efficient. As you can see, the materials is just 6 fishes, whereas the one of fish foods require one each for most of them. Now, people are going to use both of them. Okay, if one person died on the last pull, well, you're not going to pop down another feast. They're going to need to eat their secondary food. And if you're not in a raid, then you might be in a position where you still want to have your buff food. Maybe you're not in a guild raid, you're in a pug. Either way, there's a lot of situations where people eat the one-off foods. Now, in Wrath, the way you get the recipes is, well, you can see here, Epicurean's Awards. They are a currency that you acquire from doing the cooking dailies in Wrath. There's one daily every day, I believe. Well, wow, it isn't so informational yet, and I don't have beta access, so I can't test. But I believe you get one daily every day. So that means one recipe every 3 days, because most of them cost 3. There's one exception to this, the Fish Feast, which is the big one. And requires 5 awards. So that's it. Which means it's very important, obviously, to do these dailies. I do believe you have to be 350 skill level to get started with the dailies. So you have to crank up your cooking skill through TBC essentially. But that's not particularly expensive, and you can do it on any character. I very strongly suggest having cooking. Because buff foods, well, everyone always wants buff foods. It's a buff. So, yeah, the Fish Feast, this is the big one. Most guilds, I expect a lot of guilds to provide these for their raiders. They might, because they're gonna just take like some materials or whatever stuff from the raid and sell. So these will still be used. They will still sell. They still sell, obviously, but this is generally not the main seller. This is more something that guild crafters will use, because it's super, super effective. You can tell it uses 6 fishes. Take 2 sculpins, 2 glacial salmon, and 2 nettlefish, and you have food for 30 raiders or whatever. When you compare that to the one-off foods, which requires 1 cuttlefish or 1 glacial salmon for the spell power food, for instance. So this is a lot more efficient for materials. But I mean, even still in retail for the last couple of expansions, with the existence of feasts, people still buy the one-off foods. So we're not going to forget about those at all. Now they're essentially put into 2 different categories, the ones that use fish as a material and the ones that use meat. So usually you would expect the meat type recipes to be cheaper. Why? Everyone kills beasts, not everyone goes fishing. So there's generally more meat in circulation in the economy. Which means that it's cheaper. It's more available. For the most part, the recipes are exactly the same. Like, there's one meat-based recipe that gives you 20 mana per 5. This one, the Mighty Rhino Dogs, 2 rhino meat and northern spices, and it's exactly the same as this one, the Spicy Fried Herring, which requires 1 Fangtooth Herring, and gives you the exact same buff. So you can choose whichever you want. There's one exception, or 2 exceptions to this, the Dragon Fin foods. The Blackened Dragon Fin, this one gives 40 agility. And then you have the Dragon Fin Fillet, which gives 40 strength and 40 stamina. I do believe there's also a couple of secondary stats, like you can get some expertise food only from for meat, I believe. There's a haste food only for meat, and then there's crit and hit rating from fish, but I don't think they're going to be used as much. Generally speaking, the way people prefer to set up their buffs is to make sure that they hit their expertise caps from their gear natively, because then, I mean, if they die, they don't lose those buffs, they don't lose hit. So it's generally preferable to just get raw throughput, just get raw damage from your consumables, which means that you're going to prioritize spell power, attack power, strength, agility, anything that's just like raw damage. In some cases, it might be crit or haste if that's strong enough for your spec. There's certain specs that have breakpoints for those abilities or stats. So we could see that for some, but for most, I expect the Fish Feast, which covers everything, or just attack power or spell power food, to be the ones. But the strength and agility foods are the little joker here. The Dragonfin Angelfish, which is required for both of these. I know that for most strength classes, strength is pound for pound a lot better than attack power. It certainly is for Death Knights. You want strength. You're going to be popping this one. Usually that's been the case for agility classes as well. It was the case for Rogan Classic. So I'm expecting these ones to be really good, the Dragonfin recipes. Now, I haven't read through every class guide because they're not out yet, not all of them, for consumables and stuff, but that's sort of my expectation. A lot of people will probably just be happy with the Fish Feast, which will be good enough, and the difference is not going to be super high. It's going to be marginal to swap to something like this, but obviously there's always going to be people who want to be maximally optimal. So it's not, you only need to hit skill level 400 essentially. So just like craft some of these low level foods, get up there, start doing dailies, and then the only real question is which recipes are you going to prioritize. Now personally, I'm going to main a Death Knight, which means that I'm just going to go for the strength food first. It's the most useful one for me personally. I'd probably suggest going for either the strength or agility one with your first 3 awards. Potentially the Fish Feast if you want to save for 5. And then you get the other and the feast, and after that just go with whatever is looking profitable. Like whatever food is looking like it has a relatively high price or a niche that hasn't been covered yet, that's what I would do. Outside of mapping out the first one, like I'm sure I'll buy the strength one first, and that's the only thing I'm sure of right now. Anything beyond that, I'll be taking the decision when the servers are up and we can observe prices. There's no point in making a decision about this yet. So just pick something that's good for you first, something that you can craft for yourself, or something that you expect to be very highly in demand. Obviously, the first week or two when people have only 1 or 2 recipes, that's where you can really make some profit. So you want to be early to market with something that not a lot of people have on the market and that has demand. So I'm going to go with the strength one. Hopefully I can sell a lot of strength food and make a lot of gold off of all the Wrath Paladins and Death Knights and Warriors. Either way, we'll see how it rolls. Just unlock the recipes, craft them all, post them in various stack sizes. We'll be sharing a TSM setup once we're into Wrath, and enjoy the gold flowing in, hopefully.